you've got to have at the core of you an empathetic nature when you are leading people.
Hello and welcome to Love as a Strategy, a podcast that brings humanity to the workplace. We're here to talk about all things business, but we want to tackle topics that most business leaders shy away from. And we believe that humanity and love should be at the center of every successful business. I am your host, Jeff Ma, and as always, I'm here to have conversations and hear stories about real people, real businesses, real life. And today I am super thrilled to welcome a dynamic, people-first corporate leader who spent over 25 years transforming organizations and shaping workplace cultures where people can truly thrive. She's a firm believer that when you invest in people, performance will follow. And most recently, she served as the Assistant VP of Supply Chain Operations, Supplier Inclusivity, and Sustainability at AT&T, where she led nationwide distribution and championed a resilient, diverse global supply chain. But her impact goes way beyond the boardroom. She's a dedicated mentor, an active community advocate, and a recipient of multiple President's Volunteer Service Awards. And known for her servant leadership and her ability to revitalize complex environments, she's here to talk about how we can do a little more of that in our world and put people at the heart of business. So with that, I would love if we'd all welcome the incredible Alexis Dennard to the show. Welcome, Alexis.
Wow, incredible. I mean, I feel like I need to take you with me everywhere I go, Jeff. Just press play and go.
I'm you know what? If you're offering, I'm in. I know you like to travel. I know you like to travel alone, but
I do like to travel, Jeff, but in the instances of this, more than happy to bring you with me. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to be with you today. Cool.
Yeah, if you'll pay for all my airfare and lodging, every room that you enter, I will play music and announce you with that exact blurb.
Let me just say this. My friends would absolutely love you because that is so me off the top. Just high energy, bring the vibe, bring the energy. And I think we'll get into it a little bit when we talk about our culture and authenticity, etc. So, but it is truly, in all seriousness, a pleasure to be with you today, Jeff. I've had an opportunity to engage with several of the different podcast guests and wow, heavy hitters across. And so when you get an opportunity to be amongst folks such as that, it is certainly a privilege. And I thank you for it.
No, pleasure is mine. Absolutely a joy to have you here. And I am immediately curious for you. What, Alexis, is your passion and how did you find it?
What is my passion? I think I'm going to take two. Can I take two quick routes on that? My first passion, if you like. We talked a little bit about it, is life. And I know it can sound corny from that perspective, but candidly, we have this one life. And so it is all about how you live it. I very much enjoy meeting new people, new experiences, and just being present in the goodness of life. I love to have fun. I love to laugh. I love the energy of people. And so now, doing a podcast, who would have ever thought that? So I think that there's a passion of curiosity that I have towards all things that are new and exciting and new adventures. Although I'm not bungee jumping anywhere, so don't try to convince me to do that, Jeff.
Same.
Okay, we're right there. Yeah. But in terms of business, my passion is really around people. It is all around people. It is all around, and not just people, it is about, for me, helping people maximize their potential. Maximizing the goodness of them, right? Seeing talent in people, mentoring, advocacy. I just get on fire about that. When people ask me to be mentors for Mentoring Circle, yes. When people ask to come talk to me about advice, yes. When I have an opportunity to lead teams and really get up under and understand people. And when you see them succeed, Jeff, not outside of just promoting up, but maximizing that potential, I absolutely love it. And I feed off of that because I personally think when you think about love as a strategy, people are at the core of that. And if you love the people that you work with or have the privilege to work for or they work for you and you see success that comes from that, I'm on fire for that every single day.
I think we're cut from the same cloth. I think we should travel the world together. I'm actually
bet.
I'm curious. So the outcome is changed, transformed, evolved people. But what's your calling card? What's your approach when it comes to a starting point, or how you approach, how you look at people? Where do you start? Talk me through like that first mentor step.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell you a story, and it kind of leads to your first question that you asked me, where my passion comes from. My late mother told me a story at my 40th birthday, and I had never heard this story before. And she said that she was with her father, and I was about 2 or 3 years old at the time, and a woman needed help with something. And I immediately ran and helped this woman do whatever it was. And I came back, etc. And my grandfather looked at her and said, "That little girl's special. She sees people. She's going to be really special." And I remember that moment, I was crying, like I had tears in my eyes because I didn't realize. So part of it is just been innate in me, apparently, since I was little. I think for me, it is the ability to see people. How it starts for me is getting to know who the person I'm interacting with. People will tell you when they come to see me and they come to my office and they sit down and they've got their notepad and they've got their PowerPoint and everything like that. And they get into, yes, and I literally will stop and say, we're going to take two. Who am I talking to? Who is this person that I'm sitting across from? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? Etc. And so I think the essence, Jeff, is first of all, understanding who this person is. We all come from, and I think I would also say it then bleeds into where's their commonality. You'll find that I'm a proud graduate of an HBCU. So I may sit next to someone who says, hey, I'm XYZ. Maybe the same sorority or organizations we may be in. We may have grown up together in a part of the business and etc. So I think the essence for me, number one, is getting to understand who that person is before I ever understand what they're working on or what they're doing or what they're interested in. And I think a lot of times people miss that. They get right down to the brass tacks of what it is. And it's transactional at its core. I need something or you need something from me. And versus building a relationship, even if it's a passing relationship, some type of an engagement experience. And so that's how I start.
Yeah. I mean, how you start, but also sounds like how everyone should start.
I think, 27 years in the business, all told almost 30 something. And I've frankly been working since, what did you get your first W-4 when I was 15 years old. I think that people have become so transactional, right? In how you work with people. And I get it that things have to be done, right? You get a paycheck, you get rewarded for the outcomes that you deliver. But I don't think that we spend enough time on how you get work done. Mm-hmm. I was blessed to work for an amazing executive. Oh my gosh, she's just amazing. And I, as I was sunsetting my career, went and had a conversation with her. And she said to me, Jeff, Alexis, you have a unique ability to build relationships and get things done with excellence. And she said, that's a hard combination for people to have. So when you said, Jeff, that I think a lot of people should start with that, I don't know why. I think we're just in such a hurry to get to the what in our delivering outcomes that people think that it takes a lot of time to get to the how. And Jeff, it doesn't take a lot of time. I'm not sitting in there talking about your whole life story, but 5 minutes of getting to know someone can help them feel more comfortable, especially if it's a tough conversation. it builds a speed of trust that is important especially if it's a difficult conversation or we're trying to tackle something. Or frankly speaking, you may have met someone somewhere at a conference and now you're having that first interaction and you can be really nervous. It can also help people bring their shoulders down a little bit and woosah.
I couldn't agree more. And it's the reason, we even went with created these books in terms of trying to bring humanity to the workplace, because that transactional nature is exactly what's slowly sucked out all the humanity when we don't make even the smallest amount of time to be relational. I'm curious, how does this translate into leaders that you work with? So when we talk about leadership, and there's this core lesson of relations to start, but what are we working on when you talk about making a better leader, a stronger leader, a more effective leader? What are kind of the key things you're looking for and things that you're helping people move along the most?
Mm-hmm. I would say it's probably three things. The first for me is a leader who understands empathy. We make a lot of assumptions about how we interact with each other. Empathy is not necessarily just, we're sitting here crying and carrying on, but it's a core element of understanding people. Everyone tries every day to bring their best self, right? But you could be going through things. There could be, I'm struggling in some type of way. And so you've got to have at the core of you an empathetic nature when you're leading people. And I think that one is the biggest one that is missing, because we skirt over that and we just say, okay, you know what? I need this done. I need you to this. Well, I'm dealing with XYZ, right? That's over here for a temporary piece of time that's really impacting but if you don't have empathy, you'll never be able to understand that. And therefore it drives into performance. You're judging this individual. There are all kinds of impacts that come from that. So I say number one is that. Number two is, which is different from empathy, is you have got to create a safe place for people to fail and succeed together. If you create an environment, I try to create an environment where people feel safe. And that at the core is trust. I have to be able, especially when I'm coming into new environments, and I've led 2 people to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people across the country. If you do not create a safe environment with your leadership team, then what you are saying is there's not a place for discord and disagreement. And I have teams that, look, Alexis, I'm convicted about this, and this is the hill I'm going to die on, and we're going to have discussions related to that. But if you don't create as a leader a safe space for individuals to be able to express their opinions, you're never going to get the best out of the outcome. Now, at the end of the day, I am the leader, and it is my responsibility to lead us in the direction that we need to go towards those strategic outcomes. But safety is very important. And then the third element to that is an environment that candidly is fun. I am a straight clown. I have had call centers where I have dressed up in costumes. I have done karaoke. I do all kinds of things because people want to be in places that are fun. Yes, we got work to do. Yes, Jeff. Oh my goodness. Yes, we got work to do. And trust and believe, Jeff, the struggle that I had to grow through and work through, and I'll tell a story about that in just a minute, but the struggle and things that I had to grow and work through was you can be both. You can be a dynamic, strategic boss lady, getting it done, holding people accountable, understanding the priorities of where we got to go drive, you got to transform. You can do all of those things. And Jeff, I have done all of those things. But you can also bring an element of authenticity, of fun, of lightheartedness, of not taking yourself too seriously, of bringing people into the fold and having fun, playing games, board games, fun. I remember Trish, I think you did her podcast sometime last year, and play as a strategy, right? Playfulness, I think it was. And that is so true. And so I love to have fun. And you know what? My team loves it. We do all kinds of foolishness and silliness and things of that nature, but it creates an environment that people feel comfortable. And so you bring part of your best self because you're comfortable in that space. That doesn't mean I don't hold people accountable. It just means that there's an environment that people enjoy working with me as a leader because I've created an environment that encourages that.
Yeah, and I think the part that stands out to me is that you, in talking about the fun element, you use the word authentic or authenticity, and I think that is so powerful to connect that, because fun, yes, but not as a tactic or a strategy or this forced thing. It's because you are fun and you're bringing your passion and your fun into that space in a very real way. And like, I always believe that humans are just the perfect kind of detector of BS and like fakeness. And like, you just, no one's fooling anybody. When you think you're fooling somebody, you're not fooling anybody. And so I think authenticity just goes so far because the workplace has kind of shaped us and molded us into these things that we have to be and the ways we have to show up. And I think fun for you can all, silliness is also, you know, all the ways that we can show up in our authentic self and just
But
and let people see that side of us.
but can I be I'll be transparent in saying that, I had to learn that. I you know, just in the authenticity of this conversation as a Black woman, sitting in a corporate environment, right? There's a mindset that says, I want to be taken seriously. I want people to respect me as this leader. I want people to respect and engage with me. So, especially early on in my career, I didn't always show that side in the workplace because I didn't want there to be a perception that, oh my gosh, she's just this, and you can't take her seriously, because no, I'm about my business and my teams will tell you about that. And so I remember I was going for a chief of staff opportunity, and I had a mentor leader at the time who I absolutely love to this day. And every time I see him, I thank him for this. And I was interviewing for the role, and he said to me, Alexis, if you are not going to be your authentic self, don't you take this job. This leader needs you. I've seen you. I see how you have fun. I would always be making him laugh and we, just be whatever we get, and he said, you can do the job, because he wouldn't even be interviewing you because he was a really tough leader. He said, you could do the job. He wouldn't even be interviewing you if that weren't the case. But what he needs is someone like you who can bring an energy and an authenticity and a fun side and bring that out of him. Fast forward, I took that advice to heart. And so I brought my authentic self into that space. And I will tell you, Jeff, when we think about it as a strategy, he ended up being one of my biggest executive advocates. And when I was going for my promotion, he was my advocate. So what I say is that I had to grow into that. And so I had an interview with someone and I said, how you, I went through the hard road so I went through the hard times of that so I can make it easier for the next people who come behind me. And so the biggest thing that I have grown into probably over the last 15, 16 years of my career is bringing that. And there's not a person that would tell you that Alexis does not bring high energy. She does not bring her business and being about her business. And I love the fact that I'm able to sit here and say that I can marry the two in that. But I had to grow into that space.
But what do you say to people who are struggling with just that? Like, if I'm feeling like I can't be my authentic self at work for all these various reasons, driven by fear, driven by all these narratives, what do you say to them? Like, what's the trigger, the tipping point for me finally giving it a go?
I think when people say authentic self, right? You're not coming up in there cussing and carrying on and, and et cetera, right? You know how people say there are layers to this? I think the first question is, what is it that you're fearful of? What is it that is keeping you? When I think about it, I just told you, I was concerned that people wouldn't take me seriously because I had in my own mind a perception of how people would perceive me, right? That if whatever that authenticity is, right? That, hey, I'm really more quiet and I'm not as XYZ and people may perceive, but that's authentically who I am. I have an introverted son, love him to death, an extroverted mother with an introverted son. And so I have really become more attuned to how people operate and how they move through watching him. And so I think that there's an element of understanding who you are and getting comfortable with that. I had to get comfortable with it. And it's not easy, Jeff, and it's not something that happens in 5 minutes. But I think it's understanding and helping people to feel comfortable with who are you and what is it that you want people to understand about you that they don't. And yes, it can be fearful, especially if you're working with a boss who's very tough, right? And so you feel these. And so I think that there's also a piece of finding mentors and people that you feel safe and comfortable with. Jeff, a lot of people come to me because people say, oh, Alexis, I heard your name and I heard people talk about you, and people will facilitate those conversations because I create an environment where people can feel safe to be candid. And then, frankly speaking, I candidly have those conversations back with them. And we may work on a couple of things to say, hey, try this or approach it from this different way. So I think it just depends on who the person is. And it doesn't happen overnight. But frankly, my mother taught me is if you don't believe it, nobody else will. So you have to build in you, especially if you're looking to try to get promoted and advance in your career and those types of things. You've got to breed in yourself a measure of I can do this and I can be who I'm supposed to be. I think you bring your best outcomes when you do that.
Amazing. And when all else fails, listen to your mother. Is also
I know that's right. Listen to your mother. You know what? My mother, when you talk about my first mentor, I think you asked me that, it was her. And she modeled for me resiliency and the ability. And there's so many, her name was Pat. There are so many Patisms that I sprinkled through is because there are so many life lessons that I have brought into my corporate world. And so I think it is a matter of the authenticity of understanding who you are and that you have every right to be in the space wherever you are. And how do you make sure from an outcome perspective, you maximize that, but at the same time, bringing that piece of you into that environment. And you can do that.
Alexis, thank you for bringing your energy, your authenticity, your wisdom, your mother, Pat, bringing it all to the show today. It's such, you have this electricity about you. Oh. And I feel energized. I really appreciate what you brought. And I'm going to take some of that. I'm going to bottle it up. I'm going to store it up. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to bring some more, I'm going to share it with others. So thank you so much for bringing that to the show today. I really appreciate the time.
Jeff, thank you. And I hope just the authentic nature of our conversation will help someone put their shoulders down a little bit and understand that you are fabulous in every way. Bring that energy into your work environment and go be great. So thank you, Jeff, for allowing this gal an opportunity to share a little wisdom today. This was fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll have more.
I wore red for the love and the goodness of everything associated with it. See, look at that.
Thank you so much for being on theme. And we'll have a lot more time to talk about all this when we travel together.
There we go, Jeff. I'm going to hold you to it.
I'm holding you to it. All right. With that, thank you to all the listeners. Hope you're checking out the books. Love is a Business Strategy. Love is a Change Strategy. And if you haven't already, please like the episodes, give us ratings, do all those good things. But with that, we'll see everybody in another 2 weeks. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.